Good evening. I will call the July 18th meeting of the Amherst County Board of Supervisors to order. The time is 7 p.m. Before we get into the business of the county tonight, I have an announcement to make. We received a letter from Mr. Jimmy Ayers, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, tenuring his resignation from the Board of Supervisors to focus on his campaign for sheriff. Just a few things about Mr. Ayers. He served on the Board of Supervisors since January 1st, 2016. He was a chairman of the board in 2019. He has supported appropriate developments in the growth boundary, supported staff salary adjustments to match market rates and benefits to enhance morale and retention of all staff, expertise, has over 30 years of public service, supported the Madison Heights Master Plan, supported funding for the 4th Ambulance and Rescue Squad, and recruiting tools for efforts of public safety. He protected the county's financial future by dedicating a portion of annual tax revenue and unused budget funds to funding future capital projects, and supported economic development with the renovation of Phelps Road Elementary School, the sale and revitalization of Winton Country Club, and the sale of Pleasant View Elementary School building. We thank Mr. Ayers for his service to the county and wish him good luck in the future. With that, Board, before we approve the agenda, I'd like to make a motion that we add a closed session pursuant to Section 2-2371A8 for consultation with legal counsel retained by the county regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by legal counsel related to the resignation of a board member and procedural steps going forward, and also that we remove item 9B under new business, financial support for Amherst County Public Schools. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
All right, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Pugh to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion on the agenda? If not, please signify approval by aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Are there any opposed? All right, very good. The agenda is prepared. If you would, please rise and join us in the invocation led by Mr. Pugh, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Wade.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight to ask for your guidance, your wisdom, and your knowledge that we may do what's pleasing to you. We ask that you protect our sheriff's deputies, our EMTs, and our armed forces serving abroad and here at home. Dear Lord, we ask that you protect us, you guide us, you give us the knowledge to make the decisions that will be pleasing to all of us, dear Lord. And in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving on, we will have citizen comment. The only person that is signed up is Mr. Bryant. Mr. Bryant, if you would come forward, state your name and district, and 3 minutes, please.
Sam Bryant, District 1, 207 Yankee View Lane. Tom Martin is my board representative. Thank you for hearing me out. I'm still concerned about the solar initiative in my part of the world in northern Amherst County on the Piney and Ty rivers. I know there's energy being taken to bring this before you again, and I want to remind you it comes at a cost that you can't repay and you can never give back, and that's our environment. I came across an article from the New York Times that was actually carried in the Richmond Times about the second largest fish kill in 2 years in 2 Virginia rivers. I was 13 years old when I saw this happen in 1979, and I'll never forget it. I saw dead fish. There were 200,000 dead fish. I didn't count them all, but there were tons of them. There were animals that ate those fish that were dead. We all live in a world as humans with a pH of about 7. The product that's in the ground is a pH of 4. It gets real basic. It's acid. It can kill you. If it gets in the water, you'll never get it out. I've seen the contour lines for their plan. They're very tight. It's very steep. I do believe it'll get in the water. I'd ask you to seriously consider that when you make your decision. Everybody loses in this initiative, other than AEP and Interjex. Amherst County doesn't win, the citizens don't win. They broker the energy, they sell it, they send it off, and they get rich by it, and we all pay for it for years. Enough about solar, you know my thoughts on that. I'd like to talk about the children of our community, and I should have started with that because they're the future. We have a lot of kids in our county and other counties all over the country that are from broken homes, and they have nothing to do in our county. And I'm worried about the kids that I see on the street with nowhere to go and nothing to do unless they have money in their pocket. A couple weeks ago, we had a situation in the town of Amherst that was alarming to me. Most of you know what it is, and I would ask that, and I don't want to tap Joni out from social services, but I'd like to see if there's anything we can do for children, young adults or adolescents that aren't going to have a rescue squad to join, maybe a fire department, in our community to get them busy, to put them on the right track, and to even mentor them if it takes people like me, Tom Martin, or other people in the community that could point them to the military, fire, EMS, or law enforcement. But that is a big concern. Should have started with that first. The other thing I'd ask you to think about too is what's going on with our courthouse and that monument and that plaque. I believe the NAACP likes to fundraise and they like to bring attention to themselves. That monument, that plaque's been there for over 100 years. It's hurt nobody. It's going to hurt people now because it's going to create hate and division. It's hurt no one. We lost 200 people in Amherst County. We were the locality that lost the most. Please don't forget those men and their families, the young men and the old men that left the fields to go serve in our Civil War. I hope we never see that again. Don't want to be part of it. But history does repeat itself, and I think it's a very good reminder of what not to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Ms. Pryor, if you would come forward, state your name and district, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Barbara Pryor, District 3. I wasn't really planning on saying anything, and then I listened to that. I'm a proud member of the NAACP, and that noble cause signified the ownership of one race of people by another race of people. My ancestors were some of those people that owned blacks, that owned slaves. I own my ancestors. They're buried up at Pleasant View. They're buried on Puppy Creek. They're buried all over. I don't deny my ancestry. What I do deny is the idea that somehow including a group of people that have been denigrated, murdered, hung, is somehow denigrating my ancestors. My ancestors believed what they were doing. I don't believe that what they were doing at the time is appropriate behavior today. And it's just absolutely appalling to me in this day and time. I remember as a child, if you needed to buy a pint of blood, you didn't get it from a colored person. That was just reprehensible. Now I think everyone in this room, if they needed a pint of blood, would not look at the color of the skin. We've got a long way to go. That courthouse symbols, and I really resent that you talk about the NAACP likes to raise money. That money goes to $2,500 a year for a student fund for a child to go to get further education. It goes to the toiletries for children in this community. So there's a lot of work, and that money is put to good use. So the last person that spoke better look at the history of the NAACP. And on that count, I think nobody asked the monument to come down, and that was the wrong thing that was put out. Noble cause has no place on the courthouse. And I was a magistrate, and I could never understand how a black person could go in that court and feel that they were being treated fairly with the noble cause on that monument and what it represented. We are long past slavery. We are long past looking at one another. And that's all I have to say. I had no plan on saying, but he better get his facts placed. And I am a proud member of the NAACP. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pryor. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Okay, seeing none, we will move on with our agenda. The next section is public hearings. The first item is a special exception for 116, I'm sorry, for Phyllis Marie? Can I get, y'all might see me put on Claudia's glasses tonight because I forgot mine.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Do they look good? Okay.
Bring your eyes out.
There. Mr. Creasy, thank you.
Chairman, Board, good to see you all. This request by Phyllis Mayer is for a special exception in the A1 Agricultural Residential District. The purpose of the special exception is to allow a photography venue and a special events place for weddings, tea parties, and other similar uses. The property is located at 2409 Riverville Road, as seen before you, and is further identified as tax map numbers 130-A-21 and 21A. The property is currently 81.1 acres large. As I mentioned, it's zoned A1 with a single-family dwelling and an additional single-family dwelling, so 2 single-family dwellings on the lot. There is private water and private sewer, and it is not in the designated growth boundary for either of those. As I mentioned, there are 2 single-family dwellings on there. That goes into one of the conditions for this special exception is to ensure that one of the dwellings is inspected by the building office and then addressed properly by public safety. The surrounding area in general has the same characteristics as the requested parcel. The property is surrounded by ag land with a single-family dwelling to the southeast, an old CSX laydown yard to the east, and vacant land to the north and west. The applicant proposes to make use of both parcels as seen before you for the photography venue and special event space. However, the applicant will not be proposing any special event space on the lot across the railroad tracks. That brings me in to talk about the news ad. The news ad indicated both parcels. That is because the parcel across the railroad tracks is the same identifying tax map number as the 2 over on this side. As you can see here, it's lot 2121A. Lot 2121A, so it's not 3 separate parcels, and that's the reason for that news ad. The event space has the same conditions as placed on other special exceptions that you have seen before, such as no parking along the right-of-ways, and it must be on all of the applicant's property. In addition to that, any events over 75 people will require a parking attendant. And of course, we have the boilerplate conditions as seen in your staff report, as well as the item summary. The applicant also understands that if she does choose to hold special events across the railroad track, she will have to come back before you guys for another special exception request in order to do that. And staff is planning to ensure on the zoning permit that it does not permit special events across the railroad tracks. However, if you would like to make that as an extra condition, you may do so in your recommendation. At this time, are there any questions for staff?
Board. Okay, thank you, Mr. Creasy.
Thank you.
Ms. Mayor, would you like to address the board at all? Okay, if you'd come forward and state your name and district.
My name is Phyllis Mayer, and I'm from Amherst County. I live in Gladstone, and I thank you for your consideration. I am wanting to, let me just explain. We bought our beautiful farmhouse back in 2017, and we fixed it up, and we're really making it our haven. And we just thought we wanted to share this beautiful piece of property with everyone, with the spacious 81 acres. The things we've done to it to enhance it, we just felt like we wanted to share with other people. And I love to serve people. It's a passion of mine, and I love hosting. So I want to do the tea parties and smaller events such as weddings or reunions, any type of small gatherings like that. And I did remove the parcel across from the railroad tracks, and I am aware, as Tyler said, that if I do want to pursue this in the future, that I will need to have another public hearing. And again, I thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Thank you.
Is there anyone present that would like to speak in favor of the petition? If you'd come forward and state your name and district, please.
Good evening. I am Carol Frazier, and I'm a good friend of Miss Murray, and I'm just here for more support. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I'm here to offer my help in any way possible with her. It's a wonderful place, beautiful.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Come forward and state your name and district, please.
Kathy Blanchard. I'm live in Gladstone. I'm a neighbor of Phyllis's, and I've been a recipient of her hospitality. And when we first met her, when we moved there 3 years ago, we both were like, "Oh, she was like, I would love to have a wedding venue here one day." I'm like, "That's my forte. I would love to help you plan." And so she's got a neighbor that's all about it, and I would love to be part of helping her make good use of the property. It is beautiful, and I'm just all for it. And I live on the corner of the street where you turn in to go to her place.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else present that would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone present that would like to speak in opposition? Okay, hearing and seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Board, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate Mr. Creasy bringing the railroad issue to us, and I appreciate your willingness to work with us on that. I know that the railroad has very strict regulations on the ability to cross railroad tracks, and so I would like to see that added formally into this if the owner seems to be okay. I would like to see that. And the other thing, those who own property in old houses and take the time and passion to fix them up and then want to share them with people, bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Any other comments from the board? So, Ms. Tucker, what I'm hearing is you'd like to add a condition that the land area across the railroad will not be used for any events unless it receives approval from the Board of Supervisors.
That's correct, with the recommended motion in front of us, and then adding that.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor by Ms. Tucker for approval with those conditions, I assume. Was for approval, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Good luck with your project. Okay, the next item is the special exception request by Verna and Preston Sellers. Mr. Creasy?
Yes, sir. As you mentioned, this is a request by Verna and Preston Sellers for a special exception in the R2 General Residential District. The purpose of this special exception is to allow a short-term tourist rental of a dwelling. The property is located at 1648 South Coolwell Road, as seen before you, and is further identified as tax map number 138-A-164B. The property is roughly 10.6 acres large, with a single-family dwelling located on it. They have public water and private sewer, and this lot is in the designated growth boundary for both. The surrounding area in generally has the same characteristics as the requested parcel, with residential property zoned all the way around it. All of the parcels are also zoned R2 General Residential, with a single-family dwelling surrounding the reference parcel to the northeast and southwest, and vacant land adjoining the back of the property. This piece of property right here are where the sellers live, and this is the parcel right here in which they are seeking the request for, just so that you have an idea. The listed conditions are boilerplate and are your typical conditions that you see for short-term tourist rental of a dwelling. I'm not going to go over them unless you would like me to. In addition to that, the recommended motion is also found in the item summary. Are there any questions for staff?
Thank you, Mr. Creasy.
Thank you.
Mr. or Ms. Sellers, would you like to make any comments? If you'd state your name and district, please.
Verna Sellers.
Live on Coolwell.
I live on Coolwell. So I would just like to thank the board for considering our request for the special exemption. The property has been in my family for many, many years. And Although I did not grow up in Amherst County, I had the privilege of visiting my grandparents on this property, and I always enjoyed coming to Amherst and fellowshipping with my family, friends, and neighbors, to the point that when my husband and I got married, I told him that we were retiring in Amherst. That was a condition of the marriage. And in 2008, we moved to the area, and we love it. And we would just like to share, as was previously mentioned, this beautiful county with others by having a short-term rental, which would bring additional revenue to the county as well as tourists. So thank you once again for consideration of our request.
Thank you, Ms. Sellers. Any question for Ms. Sellers? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present that would like to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone present that would like to speak in opposition to the petition? Hearing and seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Board, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Supervisors approve Special Exception 2023-234 to the, with the Planning Commission's recommended conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Pugh. There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Pugh. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Looks like there's not opposed. Good luck with your project. Thank you. All right, next thing on the agenda is our consent agenda, I believe. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Wade. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Moving on, special presentation. We have a commemorative resolution for Mr. David Prophet, and I hope I can see it. Mr. Prophet, would you come forward, please? Prophet had the pleasure of retiring after how many years?
36.
36 years. He was here when I interned for the county many years ago. So be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of the County of Amherst, Virginia, that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Amherst, Virginia recognizes David Prophet upon his retirement as Amherst County Purchasing Agent and Deputy County Administrator. Whereas David Prophet served Amherst County as purchasing agent since February 1987, eventually adding the title Deputy County Administrator to the role, and whereas he served as interim county administrator 4 times, helping navigate county staff through many transitions, and whereas Mr. Prophet helped lead the county from a strong logical and moral foundation, and whereas he worked at the courthouse above the Amherst Fire Station and in the current county administration building, and was part of the renovation of the office on the 2nd floor of the Amherst Fire Station and building the county administration building, and whereas David has played a vital role for over 3 decades in everything from procuring business cards to constructing buildings and providing the wisdom and knowledge to guide the county through countless policy decisions, and whereas David oversaw many projects during his tenure, including the E911 system, the regional radio system, multiple county-wide reassessments, and countless improvements to county buildings, parks, and trails, and that's a lot of whereases, David. Whereas he provided his experience in providing the county's first software program, as well as the new software upgrade currently underway, and whereas he was instrumental in the procurement process for the expansion of the public works facilities and landfill to include, but not limited to, the addition of the existing office building to include a kitchen and new office space, a new fuel island, new maintenance shop, and the transfer station, as well as many county convenience centers, and whereas David was influential in the procurement and ordering of all vehicles, buses, and heavy equipment purchases made throughout his tenure for the county and school systems, and whereas he is known throughout the region for his expertise in procurement procedures and was often consulted by other localities working to establish their purchasing policies, and whereas his co-workers know him for his professionalism, ethics, integrity, wisdom, humility, and problem-solving skills, and whereas David acted as a mentor for many county employees, past and present. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of the County of Amherst, Virginia, that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Amherst, Virginia wishes to express its gratitude to Mr. Prophet and recognize his many years of service, that this resolution shall be in force and effect upon adoption. And I would put that on a motion for adoption. Is there any discussion? Board, would you like to add anything? All those in favor?
Nothing other than thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Adopted this 18th day of July 2023. David, you are going to be sorely missed, but we wish you well in your retirement. Would you like to say a few words?
Well, just that it's been a privilege and honor to serve the citizens of the county and to work with many other people who did the same. And I appreciate all these words and the recognition.
Thank you, David.
Okay.
And Ms. Prophet, thank you too. You can have him for a little while. Okay, we will move on to old business, board, commissions, committees, social services board. Mr. Bryant.
Okay, thank you. At our last meeting, we had two applicants for this position. This is at-large representation for the Social Services Board. We had advertised. One of the applicants withdrew their request to be on this board, so we're down to one. And so that changed our recommendation. So the recommended motion is that the board either appoint Mr. Todd Rhodes to the Social Services Board for a 4-year term or direct staff to re-advertise the additional vacancy to identify additional interested persons. So what's your pleasure?
Board, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sitting on the Social Services Board. I've spoken with members of that board as well as the director. They are all comfortable with appointing Mr. Todd Rhodes to the Social Services Board. He serves as a Lynchburg Police Department employee at this point in time, and he looks to give back to the community. So with that, I will make a motion. We appoint Mr. Todd Rhodes to the Social Services Board for a 4-year term.
So motion on the floor by Mr. Pugh. Board, is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Congratulations. Okay, moving on to new business, solar project development agreement amendment. Mr. Popovich.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. On April 18th, 2022, the county entered into a project development agreement with an organization called Amherst County VAS1 LLC to do a solar project here in the county. And as part of that process, they were required to provide a decommissioning plan and to provide financial assurance that that decommissioning plan would be followed. The agreement makes reference to the financial assurance being in the form of a parent guarantee. Since that time, Appalachian Power has purchased the assets of that company, and therefore there needs to be an amendment made to this project development agreement, as there are no parent companies to APCO, and this minor adjustment to this performance agreement, project development agreement, just simply reiterates APCO's understanding that they have a financial obligation related to the decommissioning and that they have sufficient finances as a publicly traded corporation.
Thank you, Mr. Popovich. And just for clarification, for those listening in on Facebook and in the audience. This is for the existing solar facility on Union Hill and Richmond Highway.
That is correct, sir.
Board, what's your pleasure?
I'll move that the board approve the proposed project development agreement amendment as presented.
It's a motion on the floor by Mr. Wade. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. I vote aye. Motion passes. Moving on, Resolution 2023-13-R, setting solid waste rates and fees. Mr. Brian Thacker.
Greetings. At the last June board meeting, the board decided to increase the rates for several solid waste factors. What's before you is a listed change of the rates, as well as the existing rates in solid waste. The county attorney created a resolution for your approval outlining all of these rates. The ones in yellow on the spreadsheet show the changes. And as a reminder, the rates will not take effect for at least 60 days per your approval. Do you have any questions?
Board. Thank you, Mr. Thacker. All right, Board, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board adopt the solid waste rates and fee resolution as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Pugh. There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Pugh. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Thank you, Mr. Thacker.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the county administrator's report, and that would be Mr. Bryant.
Yes, sir. The county administrator's report is outlined in your packet. If there's any questions that you have for me, I won't go through each one of them. Do you have anything for me or questions on this report?
And any questions for Mr. Bryant? All right, thank you, Mr. Bryant. County attorney's report, Mr. Popovich.
I have nothing during the public section. I will be speaking to you during the closed meeting.
Sure you will. Okay, thank you. All right, liaison and committee reports, Parks and Recreation and Cultural Development Board, that would be me. That board continues to meet. They are working on getting a youth representative, so if anyone knows a young person that would like to serve as a member of that board, please let us know. All of the activities that they provide are just very well attended, and we appreciate the work that they do. Moving on to Agricultural Committee, Ms. Tucker.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything to report.
All right, thank you. Moving on to departmental reports, we have the Planning Commission Annual Report, and we have Mr. Darren Four, who I believe is the chair. Is that correct? Vice Chair. Well, there's always next year.
It will be. Good evening. I'm here on behalf of the Planning Commission to show you the Planning Commission Annual Report for 2022. But before I get into that, I want to tell you a quick story. I had the day off today. My boss gave me the day off. And in return, I'm going to cook her dinner later. So we took the opportunity to go kayaking up on the Tye River. And I'm so happy to be part of a governing body, as you all are, to preserve that natural beauty that we see in our county. And I hope we continue to make huge strides in doing that. As far as the annual report goes, I think you all have a copy of it. The Madison Heights Master Plan is something the Planning Commission has worked on for a very long time. And two of the biggest projects would be the Madison Heights Town Center Master Plan and also the Amherst Senior Living. And I think both of those projects are going to be a huge benefit to the county moving forward. A lot of the numbers as you look through them, some of the zoning permits, the single-family accessory permits and all have either equaled or exceeded some of the previous years. So I feel like we're moving in a really positive direction. I think the Planning Commission, I'm happy with, with the people that I work with on that commission. They're great, and I think they have significantly good input for the county that ultimately makes excellent recommendations to the board. And in closing, I just want to say you all made a great choice in appointing Mr. Bryant, County Administrator, and Mr. Creasy as the Planning Director. You couldn't have done any better job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Four. Were there any questions for Mr. Four? I will say that we appreciate the work that the Planning Commission does. I find that they're very deliberate and thorough when they look at issues, and I appreciate that. All right, moving on, we're back to citizen comment. Is there anyone present that would like to address the board? Yes, sir, if you would come forward, state your name and district, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, my name is Todd Rhodes. I actually live on North Main Street. I'm not sure of the district. I appreciate your consideration for the Social Services Board. I've talked to you before, Claude, or ma'am. I look forward to serving, and I appreciate your consideration for that. I just wanted to give you guys a chance to introduce myself to you. So thank you all very much.
Well,
Thank you
welcome.
for your willingness.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present that would like to address the board? All right. Hearing and seeing none, the citizen comment period is closed. We'll move on to matters from members of the Board of Supervisors. Mr. Pugh?
I have none at this moment.
Mr. Wade?
Just want to say congratulations to the multiple Dixie Boys baseball team and Dixie Girls softball teams. A number of them won the state tournament, so they're headed to the World Series. So congratulations and good luck.
Tucker?
I don't have anything at this time.
All right, and I have none. So we will move on to our consideration of going into a closed session. So I would make a motion that we go into a closed session pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A3 for the discussion of consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose, or a discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body regarding the Amherst Life Saving Crew property. And B, a closed session pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A8 of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended, for consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by Amherst County regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel related to public announcements on public property. And C, a closed session pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A8 for consultation with legal counsel retained by the county regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by legal counsel related to the resignation of a board member and procedural steps going forward. There is a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Does not appear that any are opposed. We are in closed session.
High interest earning accounts.
All right, is there a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Okay, we need the certification.
I move that the Amherst County Board of Supervisors certify by recorded vote that to the best of each board member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identified in the motion authorizing the closed session were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed session.
Mr. Pugh?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Ms. Tucker?
Aye.
And Mr. Martin votes aye. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, motion on the floor to adjourn by Mr. Pugh. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. We stand adjourned.